Hi, good morning. We're here with Adam Daniel from Your Harrogate, obviously in Harrogate. How you doing, Adam?
I'm not too bad, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Thanks very much for joining us today. So, let's start things off. And if you could give us a bit of background, more about who you are, what it is that you do, and how long you've been doing it for, please.
So I am the commercial director and co-owner of Your Harrogate, the local radio station, as well as the Magnetiz Group, which is our digital agency. And we also have another radio station called Rombles Radio as well. So we have three businesses which we operate out of where we are from.
Fantastic. Um, how long, when did you start? First question. And then another one will be after that is what was the spark for getting started? Let's get into your kind of story, really.
So, so we set up. I'm in business with a guy in Harrogate people know quite well, a guy called Nick Hancock. He is my business partner. He is the yin to the yang, if you know what I mean. He's the one that we work really well together. And I'm a firm believer that in business, working with people is far better than just trying to work by yourself. No, you look at all the successful stories of all the famous people who have made it in business, and none of them have done it by themselves. They've always had someone alongside them. So that's Nick is my equivalent of that. But we set up in September 2020, just off the back of we used to work in radio previously, and a big media conglomerate bought the radio station we used to work at, which people know as Stray FM,
Yeah.
and basically laid off quite a lot of the staff, essentially. So we when we did that, my background's always been in digital e-commerce.
Yeah.
I was the head of e-commerce for the radio group that owns Stray FM, and when we knew we were going to like ultimately lose our jobs and stuff, that was sort of the spark to make us go, right, we need to set up our own business. We need to do this by ourselves. So we actually set up Magnetiz, which was the digital agency. And we were quite adamant that we were just going to go down the agency route, building websites, managing marketing campaigns for people, because that's what we'd been doing,
Sure.
up to that point. And then we had quite a large handful of clients say to us, "You need to set up another local radio station. What the company are coming in to do is not going to be local.
Yeah.
You need to set up a local radio station." And after much deliberation, because one, setting up a radio station is not easy, and two,
Yeah. Okay,
cheap.
I'll just go do that. Yeah, fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Not cheap, not easy.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, we ultimately decided to do it, and being really honest, we've not looked back. Like it's
Yeah.
probably the best thing both me and Nick have both done. We've built an incredible team at Your Harrogate, and yeah, we're currently on an upward trajectory, which has felt like we've been on for the last 3 years. But it's yeah, we're really doing great things at the moment, which we're really happy with.
Awesome. Great story. I like it. So well, I guess this question is what makes you different, stand out from the rest? Maybe perhaps from your corporate company that took over and laid people off. I mean, I can imagine what the difference is, but kind of in your own
Yeah.
words.
Well, the biggest difference is we have about 1% of the staff. So yeah, we were a lot smaller team. But I don't know. I think like what we do, what we look to do is to try build a community around what we do. We wouldn't be here as a local radio station without our fantastic community, our listeners, our people who follow us on social media, the people who ultimately we serve. And then vice versa, we serve those people, and then advertisers spend advertising money with us to gain access to that audience. But we care about the local area, and it's our job to make sure we celebrate the best of what's going on. We aren't a news outlet, that is first and foremost. We aren't a news outlet. We aren't going to be looking at news stories. There's a lot of news that's self-generated in Harrogate, if I'm honest. So we aren't that. We're literally look at celebrating the best things that go on in the town. all the great competitions that we put on, all the great, listeners that we get onto the radio, and so on and so forth. But I think it's ultimately, we're driven by the community where, the bigger sort of conglomerates aren't,
Yeah,
they're driven by shareholders and what they want, whereas we're driven by what we can do for our audience.
that's
Um,
it.
and make it fun and exciting. Like,
Yeah, it's
there's
coming
not,
across.
yeah, fun and exciting. Like, we want to make sure that, local radio is that sexy showbiz stuff. Do you know what I mean? Is cool in everything that we do. We try and make exciting. We don't want it just to be boring and stale. And I think the problem with some of our competitors, whether that be local or national, is people forget that, and that is, ultimately we're marketeers. I've been sat on both sides of the table of selling advertising.
Yeah,
I've been sat on the side of the table of being sold advertising, and trying to make campaigns myself. So yeah, it's really important, and that is the best thing. When something's sexy and a bit, exciting, that's when it works.
grabs
Stale, boring ads.
attention.
Yeah,
That's
building
it.
connections with
Yeah,
people.
yeah. That community aspect. It's fantastic. So, what does the future look like for you? You said you're on a growth trajectory there. Any
Yeah,
plans going ahead? What have you got
yeah,
in store?
definitely. I mean, one thing I've learned in business, and I've worked for myself now for well, nearly 4 years, and every day is a school day. Like, it's so funny. It's like I used to be in a job, and I had the title. It made me feel amazing. And I thought I knew everything. And looking back now, like, I can't believe more people didn't kick me out the door. Like, you walk into these businesses and you try to tell business owners how they need to be running the business. And yes, don't get me wrong, like, I look at myself as someone who has knowledge in the marketing area, whether that be online, digital, radio, or whatever it is. Um, but yeah, you don't, like, I have learned more in the last 3 years of the last nearly 4 years of being a business owner as I have in my entire career of working. And I think that is really quite important. But yeah, we are always looking at how we can make things better. We probably one of our biggest positives and negatives is we'll do something. So we threw our first local heroes event not last year, so 2022, and it was a huge success. It was, with that is an event we put on that we don't make money on. It is entirely to give back to the community. And it was a huge success. We didn't struggle to sell any sponsorships to cover the costs. We had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of entries for all these different categories we had, and we were over the moon with it. But then on the Monday morning, so the event was on the Friday. On the Monday morning, we came into the office. We had a 10 o'clock meeting, and we were ripping it apart. We were, the event was perceived to be so successful, and
Yeah,
we were so proud of what we'd pulled off. But on the Monday morning, 2 days later, we're ripping the whole thing apart, going, how can we make it better? And the reason I say that's our strength, but also probably one of our weaknesses, is it's a strength because we're always looking to move forward. We're never just happy with what we do. We are always wanting to um, build on and improve what we do. But then we do sometimes, the weakness side of that is you sometimes don't celebrate your successes, you don't
sure.
celebrate your victories. Um, but that is something me and Nick are more conscious of now. Is we make sure that when we take the team away to do a celebration, we celebrate everything that we've done,
Yeah.
not just the most recent thing.
Well, it's finding a balance, isn't it? What's coming to my mind is where if you relate it to football, post-match, there might be a celebration for an hour, great, but the next game's 3 days away. What went well, what didn't go well, you got to go again. And that's
And that's exactly it. That is exactly it. I had a boss who actually used to run Stray FM called Sarah, and she was fantastic at sort of that exact thing. She'd always bring it round to a football analogy, and what you've just said is hitting the nail on the head. Like in the heat of the moment, you're like, oh, this is amazing, this is great, we've won, woohoo, party type thing. But then yeah, the next day it's like, right, we've got a next game coming up. Like where did we fall down? And Sarah was really good at that, and I think that's probably why we do it so well here as well, is because we've seen it work, and we've
sure.
seen it's the whole marginal gains thing. The guy, I can't remember his name now, but the guy who trained the Team GB cycling team in the 2012 Olympics.
Yeah.
It's all about marginal gains. And it's so true. Whether it's changing the pillow or changing the mattress or, having a different water bottle or, eating this type of food instead of that type of food.
Washing your
It's
hands as well, I think, wasn't it?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Something stupid like washing your hands to stop you getting cold or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it's all that type of stuff.
Brailsford. Is that right?
That does build up. You make 10.5% changes. Well, you've made a 5% change, and we compound that over a year, 2 years, 3 years, and it starts to make a massive difference. So yeah, it's
Awesome.
that's
Would
quite
that,
important.
would that be your biggest lesson then, do you think? Or is there any other lesson that springs to mind if there's one that you have to pick out over the last 4 years?
God, there's loads of lessons. Uh, there's loads of lessons. Yeah, I think it's ultimately the number one lesson I've learned. Is just treating people how you want to be treated. Like it is so important to be fair with people, but also be, honest and everything with them. We we like to think that, and it's something I pass on to our sales guys and the content guys and anyone who's client facing, which luckily is a business, everybody in our business is client facing, but is making sure that, if you wouldn't want to be treated that way, don't treat them that way. And that's paid dividends for us, in the sense of we have great relationships with all our clients. We've got an extensive list of clients of nearly over 200 local clients, and I like to think I could pick up the phone to any of them just for a chat, and we don't want to just be the hardcore salespeople. And I am a salesperson, and I'd say that to all of them. In my role, I am the leader of the sales team. I have to be able to sell, but we don't want to just be known as the people who are coming to pop in and, just try flog something every now and then.
Yeah.
It's
Hello, it's me again. I'd like you to buy
yeah,
something.
yeah, exactly. It's like, oh no, we actually care. Our
Yeah, yeah.
business owners are in our community, and we care
Help
about
people to buy. Yeah, as we
exactly.
say, I mean, everyone's got to sell themselves in whatever format of life that you're
Yeah,
partaking in.
everybody's a salesperson. I
Yeah,
remember when I first started out in work, and I was like, I used to work in the car trade. So like my first ever job was working for a car dealer. And everyone knows the stigma attached to car salesmen. Everyone hates
yeah,
them. Poor
yeah,
people. Like, some of the nicest people I know are car salesmen, but yeah, everyone hates them. And I grew up. Well, I started my working career in a car dealer where everyone hated car dealers. So I was like, I don't want to be a salesperson. Everyone hates salespeople. That's not what I want to be. But then quite quickly you learn that, no matter what job you do, no matter
yeah,
where you are in life, you are a salesperson. The difference for us is we sell solutions. We don't sell, and that sounds really salesman-y, but like, I'm not gonna, find a product off the shelf and I'm gonna go, all right, hi, client A, buy that.
yeah.
Like,
Not physical.
yeah, one, it's not physical what we sell, but also it might not fit their need. It is all solutions based, our job. And the best way to help people with the solutions is build the relationships and find out what the actual problem is that needs a solution for it.
Yeah, good advice there. I was going to ask
Well,
you about advice if someone was just starting out in business, a piece of advice.
learn to sell. Bloody hell. Learn to
Yeah,
like full stop. Like learn to sell. I mean, if you're starting out a business and you can't sell, you're going to struggle. And I absolutely love direct sales. I love meeting new people and selling face to face. I very, very, very rarely do Zoom calls, like because I don't, although moving this out as an example because you're also asking me questions, so it's fairly straightforward. But I struggle to build relationships through Zoom. So with
yeah,
our other radio station that we bought in November, that's over in the Dales, and Keckskill shut at the moment. So what would be a half an hour drive to Skipton is now an hour long drive to Skipton. But
yeah,
I make an extra half an hour drive to go see some of our clients because the face to face engagement is far more effective and better for everybody
mhm,
than, oh, can I have a quick phone call? Can I have a quick Zoom? And this is almost, it becomes a bit less personable for me. And we were very lucky. We set up during COVID, so there was a hell of a lot of this. But because we did so much of this, when it came to actually meeting people for the first time, it was almost like you were meeting them literally for the first time because
Yeah.
how tall Adam is, I don't know, I don't like, and all that type of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
It makes a massive difference.
sure.
Um, but yeah, learn to sell and look to sell to people directly and don't be afraid of it. Like, everybody, as we said, everybody's a salesperson, and whether you're selling cars, whether you're selling jewelry, whether you're selling a service, or you're doing nails, or you're a beautician, like learning to sell your product or your service is paramount because no one's going to do it better than you do. That's
Even
why.
yeah, even going on a date, you're selling yourself, aren't you? Everyone's
100%.
selling from
Yeah.
somebody else, and it's an
Yeah, I
exchange
mean,
of
the best thing about being a salesperson is you learn to become you become quite thick-skinned to rejection. So
yeah,
that helped me out on quite a lot of days
yeah,
actually. Going on, oh, she's rejected me. It's fine.
yeah.
It's just like a client saying no to advertising.
That's it. There's a one more step to success. There you go.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And every no, and this was some my boss Sarah Barry used to say quite a lot. Every no is closer to a yes.
Yeah,
And being a salesperson is hard. Like it is hard because you have the highest of highs and you have the lowest of lows. Like that is a reality as a salesperson. You can come in one week and you can absolutely storm it. You can have the best sales week ever, and you feel like you're not doing much. You don't feel like you're having to work that hard. Whereas you have other weeks where sales just aren't coming in and you're feeling like you're having to work really, really hard. So it can be quite psychologically and physically draining. But that is one saying that sort of always helps keep me going. And I tell it to all our sales guys, we've employed someone recently who's never worked in sales before. So he's not used to rejection. Like, him getting a
yeah.
no is like, oh my God. And I just keep saying, like, every no is closer to a yes. And don't worry about it. Don't, just because it's a no now doesn't mean it's a no in 6 months' time, 3 months'
It's a
time.
great life skill, isn't it? Just to kind of understand yourself and go, that's all right.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
all right.
exactly. Exactly. And the just on the advice thing, you've just were talking about rejection. The other bit of advice I'd give to anybody starting out a business is learn to say no.
Mhm.
Like, you get so, I mean, I've made this mistake. I've committed our business to things before that have not been beneficial to us in any sense, shape, or form. But your ego drives it, because you can, we should, because I can, I will. And
Yeah,
that is not the attitude to take. And I've had to learn that the hard way. But learning to say no to stuff is really effective. And if you have one key focus when you're setting up a business is making that business a success. So saying yes to more stuff just adds more distraction on your plate. So you're actually hindering when you think you're adding benefit. You're actually hindering what you actually ultimately out to achieve. I mean, I read a thing about Warren Buffett, um, the massively famous investor in America and all that type of stuff. And he said, like, if he has 100 things across his desk, he says yes to one of them.
yeah. He's got to
And that's
focus
crazy.
on what's
Yeah,
going to give him the most success. Is that focus on what he needs to do?
100%, 100%. And you just don't want to be distracted. There's too much distraction in the world. Whether you have I've removed all social media off my phone because if I'm sat in my car waiting to go to a meeting, I should be thinking about what I'm wanting to go into that meeting.
Yeah,
What's this client going on? What are they doing? Right, okay, I remember when I came to them this time last year, we were talking about that. Is that still relevant this year? Where now that's where my brain's at. Whereas before it would be, oh look, my mum's just taking a photo of the dogs. Oh, that's really
yeah.
nice.
You
She's
got 5 minutes to spare. Suddenly the brain's all over the place, isn't
yeah,
it?
and then you go into the meeting and you're in a total brain fog because all you can think about is seeing your dog running through a river.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just not irrelevant. And it's so
Discipline. We're,
yeah,
we're covering a lot. We're covering a lot. I love it.
yeah.
Um, Lastly, then, in terms of inspiration for you, what is that inspiration? Would you say is it the people you work with, building a community, friends, family, anything you read, listen to, all of the above?
Yeah. I think my biggest driver is a fear of failure.
Mhm.
Um, I've always been scared of failure. I was I I've competed in sport at international level. Competed in karate on the England team, and the idea of not succeeding like eats away at me. Like, that is my nightmare, like, of where you with fear of failure. And when I talk about fear of failure, I don't mean personally, I mean for what we're doing. I mean, like, as Your Harrogate, we've created a brand now that we have hundreds of thousands of people interact with on a monthly basis. And the fear of letting them down, whether it be a snow day, we have to be the first on a snow day. The people come to us for what's going on, where schools are shut, where the roads are closed. Is there any doubt? Can I get here? Can I get to that? So we drive that constantly. And as a brand, that's so important that we just don't fail on our audience. There's too many businesses that stop caring about their customer base. And whether you're retail, whether you're a service based, whether you're media outlet or whatever, ultimately we would not be here without our customers. And when I say customers, I mean social media followers, listeners, all that type of stuff. And we have to make sure we're on point for them all the time. And if we're not, then we're going to fail. And yeah, that is a bigger driver for me. The fear of failure. And when people's like, my best thing is when someone says to me that I can't do it. I'm like, I said to myself, yeah, I said to myself, I wanted to have my own business by the time I was 30 and I'm 26. So yeah, I mean, I just now need to think of something else. I'll try to do that 4 years earlier. But, it's just constantly like pushing myself. And, my dad, he, when I say my dad's an inspiration, he's probably not going to listen to this. So I can probably say no. But like, and that's honest. But like, he's definitely had skills where or the way I sort of visioned my dad growing up has definitely had an impact on where I am today, 100%. Because he always used to work 7 days a week. He's a labourer, he's a builder basically. So hard graft job. I think I've got it hard sat in front of a laptop doing a Q&A podcast. Like, he would be looking slabs of stone up and down stairs and come back, oh, my finger opens and it'd be hanging off and all that type of stuff. But I've seen how hard he had to work for what he has. And he's not, you wouldn't look at my dad and think major success or anything like that. But like for what he does have, he's had to work very hard for. And I've seen that growing up, and he always used to say to me, whatever you want in life, Adam, you have to work for it. You have to work to get it, and that is a massive driver. Because I want our business to be successful, and just keeping pushing ourselves is probably instilled in me now. I like me and Nick talk about this all the time. Like Nick's dad used to own a car garage and used to sell cars. So when the fact I started off in the car trade is a bit full circle for Nick. But like, I think quite a lot of people now are afraid of or don't like the idea of working 6 days a week or working on a Saturday. They like looking at having that Saturday, Sunday time to themselves. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I don't make our staff work 6 days a week. Like they work 5 days a week and they go home and they have a great weekend. But to me and Nick, we aren't afraid of working a Saturday and a Sunday. Like it's just normal to us because growing up, that's all we saw was, our parents working long shifts and stuff. And that, I think, without sounding too daft about it, is that's why we own the company, because we aren't afraid of going that extra mile. And, if you're afraid, if you're going to set up a business and you're setting up a business so you can have late mornings, early evenings, late mornings, late nights. You want to work 5 hours a day and that be it. Setting up a business isn't for you. Like it isn't.
Yeah. It's all about the journey. And you got to have passion, obviously, what you do in order to do those 6-7 days a week. So that's definitely coming across. So lastly, then, in terms of any latest news around what you're up to, just to finish up, or even if it's just a case of sharing website, social media handles, wherever we can contact you. But I know it's pretty obvious where we local and what you do. But feel free to have a bit of a plug.
Yeah, it's the latest news here. I mean, the thing with Your Harrogate is there's always something going on. That is why I love my job. Is like we always have loads of stuff going on. Where we're coming into Easter holidays now. So we're literally back to back with going to all the great places in the area, talking about what they've got going on for the Easter holidays. The worst thing about that is that my daughter wants to go to every single one of them, which sometimes does make it hard. But I do quite like to take a day or two out to go spend a day going around a roller coaster and stuff with her. But then, going into April, we've partnered with the Harrogate Bid, so we're going to be celebrating their dog show again. So there's just always stuff going on with us. Our website and handles are Your Harrogate. It's quite
Yeah.
straightforward. We're a local radio station. You can tune in your car on Alexa smart speakers. Follow us on social media. And like, look, if there are any people who listen to this who are local and want to reach a massive local audience in an engaging, fun, sexy, exciting way, then yeah, get in touch. That's what we're here to do. But yeah, it's every day is different here. That is the best thing about my job is every day is different. And
The reason you like it.
yeah, I honestly, I love it. I absolutely, and it's so funny because you wake up some mornings and like you'll think, right, this is what I'm going to do in my day. And then, by 8 o'clock, you're like, nope, that is not my plan for today. My day has changed completely. And it's good. But one thing me and Nick are good at is because we're in such a fast-paced business here, like, media is so fast-paced, and particularly in Harrogate, there's loads going on. We do take that time out to plan and look at what we want to do. And, when you asked about, excuse me, future developments and stuff like that, we'll sit down and we'll take time out of the business consciously and away from the business as well. So we'll go out of area. It's basically just a way to go to a nice spa for a couple of hours, to be honest. But we'll go out of area and we'll sit down and we'll talk about what is next and what can we do better. Because
Essential, yeah.
Yeah, it is
Go a bit
essential.
slower to go faster.
Exactly. Pump the brake and then put your foot back down.
Exactly. Awesome. Adam, thanks very much for sharing all that you have. Been really enjoyable talking with you. And I wish you
Thank you
all the
so much.
best for the future of the business.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And thank you for asking me to come on. It's been brilliant.
You're welcome.